Hello, my name is Tijani Ahmed, and I will be presenting on the topic navigating the intersection of artificial intelligence and human rights, identifying research gaps and future direction. This is an oral presentation for the course JUS 700, International Human Rights, and the name of the professor in charge is Dr. Olga Vega. To begin with is the introduction. As we all know, artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming various sectors, including education, healthcare, governance, and justice system. However, the integration of AI into this domain raises significant concerns about privacy, fairness, and accountability. This presentation is going to explore the research problem at the intersection of AI and international human rights law. The aim is to understand how AI technologies may infringe upon human rights and to identify critical areas that require further academic research or further research on the policies. In education settings, for example, the algorithmic tools used in student assessment or admission process could unintentionally reinforce systemic biases, like we have seen in different cases across the world. Now, the literature review. We have seen that in the body of literature, a growing body of policies of literature it addresses different artificial intelligence and human rights. The United Nations in 2021, for example, advocates human-centric AI respecting rights. It emphasized corporate responsibility to respect human rights in digital innovations. Also, the OECD in 2022 recommends fairness, transparency, and accountability. And then from the academic sphere, we have different authors that have written and have researched about artificial intelligence and its use in education. Scholars have argued that current legal frameworks are not keeping pace with technological advances, especially in the education and its environment. So also civil society organizations have also highlighted the need for ethical AI governance to protect the rights of vulnerable population, especially those that with disability and other vulnerability. So this makes the research on AI and the intersection with human rights, it makes it an important issue in the society. So key issues in AI and human rights includes the algorithm bias, discriminatory outputs in hiring and in schooling. For example, there has been bias in AI system that which has led to discrimination in hiring, in policies in school or in school administration or school admission. For example, the facial recognition tools have demonstrated some racial inaccuracies in countries like UK and different parts of the world. Secondly, data privacy and protection. AI relies on a very large data collection, raising concerns about surveillance and data misuse, especially in educational institutions. There are information that are meant to be private, but AI use a lot of it consults with a lot of data while researching and coming out with solutions. The next one is accountability. There is no clear liability in AI caused harm. So who is going to take responsibility for any harm caused with the use of AI or any harm that is caused by AI? Next is identifying the research that despite the growing awareness about AI and human rights, there are still several gaps in literature. First, most studies have focused on AI in commercial or legal system with limited focus on public education and marginalized population. Most researches on artificial intelligence are focused either in the business area or the commercial or legal system. And we have limited researches in the education sector. That creates a gap for in which this research is going to bridge. Secondly, there is insufficient empirical research on the real world impact of bias algorithm. What are the real world impact? We have limited research on that. And thirdly, we have few frameworks that exist which integrate human rights principles into the design of AI tools by public institutions. So the intersection now, we have limited researches or limited framework that combine this intersection, AI and then human rights law. So these are the gaps that have been identified for this research. So the methodology and the design is next, and the methodology for this study will be a qualitative case study. It is going to focus on how AI tools are deployed in public schools or in public education in the United States, and specifically in North Carolina. This approach is going to allow for in-depth exploration of real-life context and stakeholders' perspective. And when we talk about stakeholders, we talk about the teachers, the students, the parents, and the administrators of this school. The theoretical framework for these studies, I'll be using the capacity approach by Amartya Sen and Martha Nussbaum, pardon my pronunciation, to examine how AI systems enhance or restrict individuals' freedom and agency. The research question, we have 3 research questions for this study. The first is, how do AI-driven decision in education affect students' rights and access to opportunity? Secondly, what governance mechanisms are in place to ensure transparency and accountability? Thirdly, how do educators perceive fairness of AI-based tools? The population for this study is going to be school administrators, teachers, and parents, like I mentioned before, from 3 public school districts in North Carolina. And it's going to be from Guilford, Forsyth, and Alamance County in North Carolina. And data will be collected through semi-structured interviews and document analysis of AI-related policies. Solutions and recommendations. Current solutions include the ethical AI guidelines, such as the UNESCO recommendation on ethics of artificial intelligence, which was brought out in 2021. It encourages inclusive, right-based approaches in AI usage. However, implementation of these policies remain inconsistent. So the policies are really available. There are different organizations, world organizations, international organizations that have provided policies regarding the use of AI and privacy. For example, the UNESCO 2021 that I mentioned, but the implementation is where these policies are failing. So we need stronger data protection laws as recommended by the EU GDPR, and also inclusive policy making involving educators, students, and tech developers. When we want to develop AI, we should include the stakeholders, those that these AI are going to affect, then we should include them while developing this one. Then recommendation for future research include to develop human rights impact assessment for AI tools in education, and also to create interdisciplinary policy teams involving technologists, educators, and legal experts. Basically, you can research into how we can develop human rights impact assessment so that there will be an AI tool that is going to assess the impact, the real life impact. And also another study could be on the on creating interdisciplinary policy team that is going to include policy stakeholders in different sectors, and the technologists, the educators, the students, the legal experts also. Next is the conclusion. To conclude, AI presents both opportunities and threats to human rights, as we all know and we can all agree with. This presentation has highlighted algorithmic bias that exists in the use of AI in education sector. Uh, it has also it was also based on the fact that there is an existing data privacy and bias in the usage of AI and human rights, especially in education. And there's also the problem of accountability. Who takes responsibility for any harm caused by AI? And these are urgent issues that needed attention, in which this presentation developed a research process to ensure that this gap is filled through a human rights lens and the capability approach, which will be the theoretical framework for this research. Future research can better understand how AI affects individual freedoms, particularly in education. By identifying the research gap that exists in this study, we've been able to provide the methodologies, the population, and how I'm going to go about the conducting this research. And the references are on the next slide. Thank you very much for listening, as I await your comment and recommendations.